The UN Security Council is to meet next week to discuss the decision by the body's top court to call for Israel to prevent genocidal acts in Gaza. Israel has made clear it will continue to defend itself against Hamas and has described claims of genocide as outrageous. The judges stopped short of demanding an immediate halt to Israel's military operation. Here's our diplomatic correspondent, Paul Adams.
Gaza's despair just seems to deepen. In Gaza City, a rare glimpse of aid brings chaos and precious little relief. After 3.5 months of war, the Palestinian population is on its knees, hungry, sick or dead. Whether this amounts to genocide is a decision for another day. But all this, the UN's top court insists, has to stop before it gets worse.
The military operation conducted by Israel after 7 October 2023 has resulted inter alia in tens of thousands of deaths and injuries and the destruction of homes, schools, medical facilities, and other vital infrastructure, as well as displacement on a massive scale. In these circumstances, the court considers that the catastrophic humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip is at serious risk of deteriorating further before the court renders its final judgment.
By overwhelming majorities, the court's 17 judges ruled that Israel must avoid killing or seriously harming Palestinians mentally or physically, inflicting living conditions designed to destroy the Palestinian population in whole or in part, or imposing measures which prevent Palestinian births. The judges also said Israel must take all measures to prevent and punish public incitement to genocide, and do more immediately to improve humanitarian assistance. On October the 7th last year, Hamas gunmen launched devastating attacks on Israeli communities bordering the Gaza Strip. More than 1,200 Israelis were killed. Israel's response was overwhelming. Since then, more than 26,000 Palestinians have been killed, mostly women and children. Entire neighbourhoods have been destroyed. Almost 2 million Palestinians have had to flee their homes.
States now have clear legal obligations to stop Israel's genocidal war on the Palestinian people in Gaza and to make sure that they are not complicit. The ICJ order is an important reminder that no state is above the law.
Crucially, the court did not demand an immediate ceasefire, but it wants Israel to behave very differently at a time when its prime minister says the war could go on for many more months.
Like every country, Israel has an inherent right to defend itself. The vile attempt to deny Israel this fundamental right is blatant discrimination against the Jewish state, and it was justly rejected. The charge of genocide leveled against Israel is not only false, it's outrageous, and decent people everywhere should reject it.
The court also called for Israeli hostages to be released without condition, but it's powerless to make any of this happen. Today's ruling was significant, but it doesn't necessarily mean that an end to the agony of Palestinians or Israelis is any closer. Paul Adams, BBC News.
Well, a little earlier, our Middle East correspondent Mark Lowen explained whether the ruling will materially change the situation in Gaza.
It's legally unenforceable on the ground, Sarah, unless it is referred to the UN Security Council and then passes in a resolution there, although the US could veto that. But I think what it does do is it places renewed scrutiny and renewed pressure on Israel over its actions in Gaza to stop any possible actions that could be classified as genocide, to increase humanitarian aid, and to stop inflammatory language. Now, it is, I think, in a sense, it's kind of a cog in a wider wheel of diplomacy and pressure that is in action and is being placed on Israel. So on Friday, President Biden spoke to the Emir of Qatar and President of Egypt about renewed attempts to reach a ceasefire. And we understand that talks could begin in France, possibly as early as tomorrow, between the leaders of the CIA, Israel and Egypt's intelligence agencies, and top officials from Qatar to try to push both warring sides towards a new ceasefire deal. But at the moment, of course, Israel and Hamas are still very far apart on key issues like the duration of a ceasefire, the way in which hostages and Palestinian prisoners could be released. So there are no hopes of an imminent breakthrough, but I think it all adds together, all of these different elements, into a sign that things are beginning to move again.